Dragon's Crown originally came to the PlayStation 3 and the Vita back in 2013. When it originally came out, Dragon's Crown was a solid beat-em-up game set in fantasy with a beautiful vanillaware visual to it. The newly released Dragon's Crown Pro for the PS4 keeps all that while bumping up the visuals from the previous max 720p all the way up to native 4K. Dragon's Crown's story takes place in the same universe as other vanillaware games like Odin Sphere, though it's in a different part of the world and a different timeline. In this specific setting, everyone is after this special relic called the Dragon's Crown. Among those looking for it are those looking to use its power for evil. You're tasked with playing as one of the 6 classes as your team goes after the crown before it falls into the wrong hands. It's an interesting backdrop, but not really the focus of this game. Instead, that lies with the gameplay and the classic 2D beat-em-up games that inspired this game. Dragon's Crown Pro is an action RPG that's inspired by arcade beat-em-ups of the past like Double Dragon and Golden Axe. Much like that era before it, Dragon's Crown Pro counts on the gameplay to deliver the goods, and with a solid presentation, it surely does. You get a total of 6 different classes of characters that not only look different but actually play differently. The variety of moves between the classes of characters add on to Dragon's Crown's combat depth and replayability. Each character has their own skill tree to which you can upgrade and develop their moveset. While going through 9 main dungeons, you'll gather loot and XP that'll aid you on your journey. The XP gathered is reinvested into skills that'll power up your characters. Of course, it's up to the player to decide who they want to progress as. If you want to choose to focus on a specific character, you can, but you can also change up with a variety of 6 different characters. When in the middle of a mission, you'll find yourself along with 3 other party members fighting on hordes of enemies at once. It can certainly get chaotic on screen. Luckily, the game is pretty approachable with an easy to learn control scheme that doesn't really complicate things. This means that just about anyone that was a bit overwhelmed by the moves and beat-em-ups before can get a hands-on with this game and feel like they know what they're doing. My initial playthrough of this game took about 9 to 10 hours. It could have taken a little bit more if I took my time with it, or less if I really did try to rush through it. Aside from the straightforward story quests, you can also go on side quests for extra grinding and level up your characters. These can get a bit repetitive, but are also a bit necessary for the raising of levels for your characters and their respective skill trees. Your first playthrough may actually seem a bit short with the smaller amount of dungeons that this game has to offer, but the game does recommend you replay the game, and it even opens up more upon completing it the first time. After your initial completion, you're able to hop online and play with other people online as your party members. Something specifically new with Dragon's Crown Pro is that you can actually cross-play with other players on PS3 and PlayStation Vita. Whether there's still people playing on those platforms right now is up for question, but the feature is there at least. The real replay value of this game comes from playing with friends and going through dungeons a second time, looking for alternate paths and new enemies that you missed out in your first playthrough. There's also a harder difficulty unlocked at this point for those of you hardcore extremists that want a challenge. Even back on the PS3 and the Vita, Dragon's Crown looked absolutely beautiful. The artwork is hand-drawn for an impeccable first impression when you first boot up the game. The theme of the game is a weird cross of fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, and a lewd magazine. It's beautiful, but sometimes it can push the envelope a little bit too much. It really all just depends on the player's taste. The art style and characters mesh together to form what looks like an extraordinary painting come to life. The upgrade on Dragon's Crown Pro bumps the resolution from 720p on the PS3 to the absurdly sharp native 4K on the PS4 Pro and 1080p on the regular PS4. The end result is a crisp and sharp presentation that truly lets the hand-drawn art style shine. Upgraded from the original Dragon's Crown is a newly recorded version of the soundtrack. This new version of the music is redone with a live orchestra. The added effort is appreciated and easily noticeable throughout all of the medieval melodies in Dragon's Crown. The transition to a live orchestra really brings out the percussion and the chorus in the music. The final product is a more punchy and lively presentation that dances beautifully with these sharper visuals. The voice acting, on the other hand, starts off well, but can get quite repetitive during combat, where the narrator will go ahead and cycle through repeated lines over and over again. It really kills the charm of the acting and breaks the immersion of the game. Much like my recent review of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch, which you should totally go watch, Dragon's Crown Pro continues to be the great game it was when it was originally released. The upgrades in this release are welcome additions that raise the quality of the presentation and elevate the value of the game. However, if you already own Dragon's Crown, it's a bit harder to recommend this game, as all it really is a higher resolution, a re-recorded soundtrack, an option for dual audio, and the DLC. It's a great package for newcomers that want to enjoy a risque looking but marvelous action RPG that they missed out on last generation. However, if you already own it, I think you'll be better off just saving your money. It's still a great game, but the extra features don't really coordinate well with the price tag of buying it a second time. That does it for my review of Dragon's Crown Pro for the PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro. If you have any questions about the game or games you want me to review that are coming out in the future, let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, then drop it a like, subscribe for more content just like this, and I'll see you all in the next one.